I was afraid to look people in the eye. For a long time, people actually thought I was deaf because I would just sit there and I wouldn't say a word. Now, I don't know if you've had a similar experience in your life where you've been treated a certain way that you're unable to create eye contact. But it was very difficult for me as a child to look at somebody in the eye. And it wasn't until I started playing football, when I had a good sense of athletics and I was blessed to be an athlete, that I actually learned when I started playing football and I was a linebacker and I was at the line where I had to look somebody right in the eye. And that's where I first started to get into being more comfortable with eye contact. And so one of the first things to be credible is to connect with that person that you are with, to be with them in the now through eye contact. I'm sure you've gone to stores or walked into doctor's offices and you walk in and people have their head down. Can I help you? Or they look away from you when they talk and they don't look at you in the eye and you lose that connection. Connection is very important. That's one way of achieving connection, is through eye contact. Another way of achieving connection is through rapport, gaining rapport, finding out what commonality you have between you and that person that you're with. Learn about their family, learn about where they're from. Find that similarities between the two of you. Get them to like you. That creates the connection. That creates the connection. If you have a product or service, what is it about that product or service that connects with that person? Do they need it? How can it benefit them in some way? How do they make their decisions? Do they make their decisions with their heart, or do they make their decisions with their head? You only find that out when you have the connection. So what breaks this connection? If that's what creates the connection, what breaks the connection? Well, number one, if you weren't able to get out of what I got out of when I was younger, and you can't make eye contact, that will break connection. People that look at themselves as the victim, that will break connection. There are people that go through this world that have very, very low energy, and they're very, very instinctual. So they're either one of two things. They're either the prey or the predator. They either run away from confrontation or they stand there and fight. And they don't really care about the other person. All they want to do is get that business, and they attack. I don't know if you've ever gone to a networking meeting, but if you've ever gone to a networking meeting, there are two types of people that you find at a networking meeting. You find the hunters and the fishermen, right? What are the hunters doing? They're tracking you down. What do you do when you're hunting somebody? The thing that you're hunting is running away. But what happens when you fish? You drop the line in, and the fish come to you. So when you want to make that connection, you want to be a fisherman. You want to attract people. You want to ask questions. You want to get to know about them. See, because in order for you to be credible, you have to really, in your heart, feel for that other person. Know what's going on in their life. Knowing what's going to benefit them the best. That's what increases credibility, is that connection. Now, in the beginning, a lot of people are very credible. A lot of people spend a lot of time with people. And they get to connect with these people, especially when they start building their business up. They spend a lot of time because they have a lot of time. They don't have a lot of clients. They don't have a lot of sales. So they take that time and they create and develop relationships. Then all of a sudden they get busy. And then those people that they spent the time with, they no longer spend that same time with anymore. And you begin to lose connection. And you begin to lose connection. So you have to develop certain protocols, which we're going to talk about in some of the other steps that I'm going to talk about. But that's what you need to be aware of when you make connection. So you connect through eye contact, you connect through rapport, you connect with gaining an affinity toward people and understanding what their buying habits are and what you can do for them, not what they can do for you. Zig Ziglar used to say, if you help enough people get what they want, they will give you what you want. See, his mindset when he used to be a door-to-door salesman. He used to sell pots and pans. So his mindset, when he went to a door to knock on the door, it was like, these people have my money in their pocket, and I have their pots and pans in my car. Okay? Because he knew that if he can find the need for them to have that product, that he will get the money in return by helping someone else out. So that's number one. Number one is connection. Number two is value. What separates you from somebody else? What separates one financial advisor from another? What separates one coach from another coach? What value do you bring? What value do you bring? See, we don't get paid by the hour. We get paid by the value that we bring to the hour. Warren Buffett says that the price is what you pay, the value is what you get. So what value do you bring? What value do you bring? Well, for me personally, I do something called a Monday morning huddle. Some of you have already on it. If you're not on it, just give me your card or let me know if you've given me your card already, and I'll put you on it. I take a quote and I write a business lesson every Monday. Every Monday, and I give away this lesson. I give away this lesson so that people can learn and benefit the difference between management and leadership. I'm doing No Man is an Island this week. All different topics that come up. I did one on Bobby Knight's will to prepare. So these are the things that I do. I also offer a free discovery session because a lot of people don't have clarity. And it's very difficult to get from where you are to where you want to go if you can't see where you're going. It's impossible. It's impossible. I remember when Florence Chadwick first attempted to swim the English Channel. It was very foggy that day. And she got into the water and she started to swim. And all of a sudden, at one point, she just said, "You got to get me out of here. I can't swim anymore. I'm tired. The jellyfish are all around me. It's foggy." So they pulled her out of the water. And when they pulled her out of the water and they dried her off, her coach said to her, "I wanted to let you know that when we pulled you out of the water, you were only a quarter of a mile from shore." And she said, "You know, if I could have only have seen the shore, I would have kept on swimming." That's why it's important to create that vision. And that only comes from the value that you give. And then there's also perceived value. How do you perceive the value that you get? It's very interesting. They did a social experiment years ago in Chicago with a guy by the name of Joshua Bell. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Joshua Bell, but he's a virtuoso violinist. Exactly, right? So he sold out the place in Chicago. The cheapest ticket was $100. The next day they put him in the Loop, which is the subway in Chicago. He played for 4 hours. He made $32. Okay? It's not your talent. It's not your talent. It's the value. It's the value that you bring. So now you have connection and you have value. The third step is consistency. In order for you to have credibility, you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent in what you do. You have to have policies in place, procedures in place. You have to have non-negotiables. I remember I used to be a chiropractic consultant. I was a chiropractor for many, many years. I used to be a chiropractic consultant. And one day I had this guy come, and my office was in a health club. And so somebody came into my office and they said, "Oh, you know, I work out over here in the gym next door. I'd like to come to you as a chiropractor." And I said, "Well, you know, I don't really encourage that sort of thing. But, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's fine." And he said to me, he said, "Well, do you pay for my deductible and my copayment?" And I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, this other chiropractor that I go to, he pays for my deductible, my copayment, so it doesn't cost me anything to go." And I said, "Well, number one," I said, "I wouldn't do that because it's not our policy." I said, "And number two," I said, "if your chiropractor ever got caught doing that, that's illegal." And you know what he said to me? He said, "That's his problem." Can you believe that? He said that's his problem. So this chiropractor had what we call FOMO. A lot of people have FOMO. You know what FOMO is? It's fear of missing out. Okay? So they don't want to lose a client, right? They don't want to lose a customer. They'll do anything. They'll bend the rules. All that guy had to do was talk to another guy. "Oh, you go to Dr. Joe?" "Yeah, I go to Dr. Joe." "Really? And it doesn't cost me a dime. Isn't that great?" "What do you mean? He charges me $50. Consistency. Consistency is important. I was just watching Undercover Boss the other night, and they had this franchise, some type of Jamaican food. And the guy was interviewing the executive chef, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, everybody comes to our restaurant for the macaroni and cheese because I make the best macaroni and cheese." And it's like, well, don't you follow the rest? Everybody's restaurant's supposed to make the same macaroni and cheese. It's supposed to be consistent. When you buy a hamburger at McDonald's, it should taste the same as if it was made in Russia or London or whatever. That's consistency. Consistency creates credibility. If you're not consistent, you're not going to be viewed as being credible. You're not going to be viewed as being credible. So you need consistency. Consistency is important. So now you have connection, you have value, and you have consistency. And the fourth is called ubiquity. You know what ubiquity is? It's about getting around. It's about getting to be known. It's about showing up. The more places you go, the more people you know, the more people you see, the more people you can help. I learned that a long time ago in chiropractic. You want to make more money? See more people. Help more people. Get around. That's what it is. So you have these 4 things already. So now I've told you these 4 things. So the thing is now, what are you going to do with it? How come people that even know this stuff can't show up that way? Because many of you know, well, just a kind of a brief thing. The reason why I'm no longer practicing chiropractic was because in 2008, my wife was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor, and I lost my practice in a fire. So one of my patients happened to be the CEO of a coaching school and thought I'd make a great coach. So I went and did that. So I took care of my wife until she passed away. So that being said, that's how I got into this whole thing. So I work with this thing called energy leadership. And energy leadership is about managing your energy. Because if you can't manage your energy, you can't do any of that stuff. You can't look somebody in the eye. You can't make consistent policies in place and hold people to it, and hold people accountable to it. Because like I said, there's 2 types of energy. There's catabolic energy and there's anabolic energy. Catabolic energy is negative energy. It's energy that's used for survival. Like I said, you're either prey or predator. You're either running away or you're standing there and fighting. In either case, it's unhealthy. You could be successful being a catabolic person and being a predator, but it's unhealthy to you because you're developing all these chemicals in your body, the cortisol and the adrenaline, which was meant for you to survive. That's why it was given to you. You're always going to have that. As human beings, in our brains are designed for survival, not for success. It's counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive. You have to understand that there are higher levels of energy, and the higher you resonate, the better you will perform. And the less likely you will have to rely on these instinctual behaviors that are causing you to be sick. Because as human beings, which is different from animals, animals are strictly instinctual. So if there's a zebra grazing in the grass and all of a sudden he sees a lion in the distance and that lion starts running, he's going to start to develop catabolic energy, his hormones are going to go up, and he's going to take off, he's going to run. But when he tires the lion out, he's going to go back to the pasture and graze as if nothing happened. But what do we do as human beings? We see that lion, we don't even need that lion anymore. Just the thought of that lion will create the same chemical reactions. Oh, that son of a bee, what the hell did he do to me today, right? And it's on your mind all day long, or a bad phone call, or something that happens in the office. And it just preys on you and eats away at you. And you can't get rid of it. And it holds you back. It holds you back. That's why I do something called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment, because it measures and reflects how you show up energetically. Because most people, if they don't know how they show up energetically, then guess what? They just keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And then they expect different results, as someone once said, Einstein or Tony Robbins or somebody who said that, right? Okay? That's why they keep repeating it. They keep repeating it because they don't see it. But once you see it, you have the opportunity to change it. But if you don't see it, how are you going to change it? You're just going to keep going around and around and around and around until some traumatic event happens that changes your life. So knowing these things and doing these things and implementing these things require you to be a professional. To be a professional. What do professionals do? Professionals go out and they hire coaches. Why do they do that? Because they know that they can get from here to here a whole lot faster than if they did it on their own. That's number one. Number two, they know that there's a price to pay to be successful. They know that. Whether that price is an investment in money, whether that price is in time and effort, in work, they know it. They know it. As opposed to an amateur. What does an amateur do? An amateur expects everything for free. An amateur is looking for shortcuts to success. I don't deal with amateurs. I deal with professionals. I have a testimonial book of companies that have started. One company started a construction company with one employee, no money. I started working with him in October of 2014. He was one of my first clients before my wife passed away. Today, his personal salary is over $500,000 because he's able to do the things that he can do to run a big company. Because the bigger your company, the more energy you need. You want to run a small company, it doesn't take that much energy. But you want to run a bigger company, it takes more energy. And you can't make energy, right? Because Einstein said energy can never be created or destroyed. You can only generate energy or dissipate energy. But how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, the first step is understanding what it takes. So what I do when I speak and I make this offer, you could take advantage of it or not. I have the Energy Leadership Index Assessment form. I do this assessment. It's a subjective assessment. It shows you how you view the world. It's not a predictive assessment. It allows you to see how you're viewing the world right now and what you need to do to change it. I say to people, whether you decide to coach with me or not, it's the greatest gift you could ever give yourself. And what I do is I offer a $100 discount to anybody that wants to do it today. That's how important that I feel that this is. Whether you decide to coach with me or not, it doesn't matter. If we're a good fit and you want to coach, that's great. But that's what's important. Because it's my mission to allow people to at least understand and get this information that they have the ability to succeed, but sometimes they just don't know why they can't get there. They're taking action, they're taking action, they're taking action, and nothing's happening, and nothing's happening, and they can't figure out why. And they're working so hard, and they don't know what's going on. And all of a sudden, that positive energy all of a sudden starts to dissipate. All that rah-rah stuff starts to dissipate. You ever go to a seminar and you get all excited and you get back? I remember when we were chiropractic seminar, they'd call me up, Doc, I had 4 new patients when I got back in the office Monday morning. And then 2 weeks later, they'd default back to where they were, doing the same habits, the same situations, the same programs that they're running. If you don't change those programs, you're going to consistently do the same thing. Now, you may have programs that are programmed for you to succeed. And it's very easy for you to do things. But then you'll have programs that you've developed that actually sabotage what you do, and you never know what it is. That's why I recommend that. At the very least, if you haven't signed up for my Monday morning huddle, I urge you to do that. Just let me know, and I'll put you on the list. And every Monday, you'll get a little lesson from me, free, no charge. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.